Hey folks, it's John Rich. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a really special event we're doing here in memory and honor and respect and in celebration of one of the greatest all-time musicians, songwriters, and men to ever walk this planet, the one and only Mr. Charlie Daniels. Charlie Daniels is such a giant. You know, I've said many times that in the world of country music, to us it's holy ground when we talk about grandfathers in our industry like that. And whether you're talking about Johnny Cash or Merle Haggard or Hank Williams, there's only a few names that really rise to that level. And Charlie Daniels is one of those names. Matter of fact, I would say if there was ever a Mount Rushmore of country music, Charlie Daniels would be on that mountain. Incredible man. Unfortunately, we lost him recently. Monday, July the 6th, 2020. Just an incredible shock, I think, to my system and everybody else that knew him or was a fan of his music, which is pretty much everybody loves Charlie Daniels. But we all know that, man, he did what he was built to do. He did what he loved to do. He loved making music. He loved entertaining people. You know, he loved our country. If you ever followed Charlie Daniels on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, every day Charlie Daniels would fire off 4 or 5 tweets about our country and about being a patriot. And he would pray for people, and he would send out prayers to people because he wanted the best for everybody. And he loved his family. He loved his country music family, and he loved his fans like nobody else. Matter of fact, in 2020, Charlie Daniels had over 100 concerts booked, ready to play. At 83 years old, he was still playing Devil Went Down to Georgia and Long-Haired Country Boy and on and on and on. One of the greatest to ever do it. So tonight, we're going to talk about him. We're going to show you an interview. I was very fortunate to be able to actually sit down with Charlie Daniels about 3 weeks ago and did an interview with him that wound up being the last interview Charlie Daniels would ever do on camera. And I'm so fortunate and blessed that I got to be the guy to sit with him and ask him questions from the day he was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way through to actually sitting on his porch at that very minute. What was on his mind, what was important to him, and learn this man's story. Learn about his pursuit of happiness. And you ask, well, John, are you a pretty big fan? You could say that. Yes, I'm a pretty big fan. Matter of fact, I wanted to show you guys a couple of things I have in the house. Of course, I've got my own autographed picture of Mr. Charlie, but I also have an autographed fiddle from Mr. Charlie. He's right there. That's what we call him, Mr. Charlie. Got this fiddle from him. It hangs downstairs. And then being a songwriter, to me, that's probably the hardest thing anybody does is taking a blank sheet of paper and putting words on that piece of paper, and it becomes something really important. And he did a lot of that too. So hang on a minute. I actually have, hangs on my wall as inspiration as to how high the bar has been set before me. Now, I've never hit this high of a bar. This is the lyrics to The Devil Went Down to Georgia, written all the way down. That's a lot of words. But he took a pen and he wrote every single word down and signed it down here at the bottom. So, you know, that's greatness right there. That we talk about music being such a powerful thing. You know, it's powerful because it outlives the people who make it. You know, Charlie Daniels' music lives on and on and on. And for generations beyond him, it will continue to live on. He's impacted so many artists. There's a lot of them that had a few words to say. And fortunately, they gave us some of those words to show to you guys tonight. So, folks, here's some of Charlie Daniels' good friends in country music and beyond that would like to share a few words with you. Check it out.
Charlie Daniels. First heard his music when I was in high school. First saw him shred the stage going from gospel to rock and roll right after I moved to Nashville, mid-90s. And then how inspiring to get to know him as an artist myself and watch him continue to rock until the young age of 83.
Well, what can I say? This long-haired country boy loves some Charlie Daniels. I mean, two of my favorite things, country and rock, and he did them to the pinnacle. One of the best. I'll never forget seeing him perform as a kid, watching every note, not missing a note to Freebird. What an honor it was to play with him, become chummy with him over the years, and you know, what a patriot. You know, all those things that have been said about him by so many people are so true. Great American, phenomenal talent, and he's definitely going to be missed right here. So rest in peace, Charlie. Love you, buddy.
I was asked to say a few words about Charlie and what he meant to me, and it's very hard to try to sum that up into just a few words, but I can tell you that even more than just to me, he was such a great friend and just a wonderful man, and he led us all in a spiritual direction that some of us may not have found without him. He's a huge, important part of our musical lives, but our personal lives as well, and we'll miss him dearly.
I consider Charlie a good friend. I've known him for almost 30 years. He was one of the first people that I met when I got to town. I met him in James Stroud's office in the early 90s before I ever cut my very first record. He was always very gracious to me. You know, we were all fans of his music. He was a phenomenal musician and a great songwriter. But I think more than that, the man and just the person that he was and the way that he cared about things rose above all the things that he accomplished musically in his life. He was a wonderful human being, and he's going to greatly be missed. I just hope that his musical legacy and his memory are appreciated and loved as much as us in the music industry loved him. I wish his family all the best. Miss Hazel, God bless you. That y'all keep the family in your prayers. Charlie left an amazing mark on this industry and all the people that he came in contact with. He's in a much better place. God bless you, my friend.
I want to begin by acknowledging the passing of a great Tennessean, a legend in country music, an iconic man, Charlie Daniels. You know, there have been many tributes to Charlie Daniels regarding his incredible talent, his iconic sound, his straight talk approach. But for me, I am most impressed by his legacy of faith. Charlie often referred to Psalm 91 and talked about trusting the Lord. And we all know that he said his priorities are God and his family and his country and then his work. And while he leaves behind a multifaceted legacy, for me, his legacy of faith rises above them all.
You know, we lost Charlie Daniels, and we loved him so much. He was such a great friend of ours in the bands. And he got us through a lot of times. We used to tour with him in the old days, we call them. But back in the 70s, we come up together, and we made it together and learned together. And he was such a great guy and friend, and everybody that ever met him loved him. I'd have never met one person ever in my whole life that didn't love Charlie Daniels. And I just honor him so much, and he wrote a song, Heaven Should Be Proud. It's about some of his friends that we lost, Ronnie and Elvis and people, and now he can add himself to his song. It's just a great one. Anyway, we loved him, and we'll miss him, and heaven's full tonight.
Charlie Daniels was a great man, Christian, and a patriot. Grew up listening to his music, and who would have known that eventually I would have had the honor to meet him and be friends with him, and occasionally have the opportunity to share a stage. He's influenced my music since the beginning, and he'll be missed.
Hey everybody, it's Eddie Montgomery from Montgomery Gentry Band, and talking about Charlie Daniels, man, he can't say enough about him. He brought me and T-Roy to the game. I mean, he's Superman. He's the greatest American I've ever known in my life. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna miss him. He inducted us, me and T-Roy, to the Grand Ole Opry. Remember our first volunteer jam we got to play, 2015, we got to play the 40th anniversary of the volunteer jam. And then after Troy passed, he invited me to come do the 2018 volunteer jam. I mean, if there's a better person than Charlie Daniels, I don't know that I've ever met him. I'm gonna miss you, Charlie. I love you. And he's just an American badass, that's all I can say.
If there were a Southern rock country, God-fearing patriot, good old boy Mount Rushmore, Charlie Daniels' likeness would be hammered, chiseled, and blasted onto it. I would follow Charlie Daniels into battle. I will not follow him on stage. I couldn't. No one else could either. Enough said. Heaven has never rocked like it's rocking right now. Charlie, old friend, I'll see you when I do. Rock on, pal. Larry loves you.
Hey, I want to say thanks to all those fine folks for their incredible words about Mr. Charlie Daniels. I feel the same way, and you can see how much impact this man had. A true giant, a true American success story, a hero, man. I mean, he is a hero, not only in the music world, but beyond. And even the state of Tennessee bringing their flags to half-mast on behalf of Charlie Daniels. Man, that is saying something right there. So, being a fan of Mr. Charlie myself, I wanted to sing you one of my favorite Charlie Daniels songs. And it says a lot about him because the original lyrics to this song are one way. And as he found redemption later on in his life after writing some of those songs, he actually changed the lyrics. And I'm going to sing them the way that he changed them to. Otherwise, he wouldn't be happy with me. All right, here we go. Little long-haired country boy. Goes Charlie Daniels, the great Charlie Daniels. You guys, we got one of the greatest things I've ever been able to do, and I didn't realize how great it was when I was doing it. But what you're about to see now is the final interview of the great, legendary Charlie Daniels on camera.
Our country wasn't founded on the right of happiness, but rather the right to pursue happiness. That right is what makes America the greatest nation the world has ever known.
Yeah, so if either one of us need to swallow water, we'll just ask for it and just, because it's all edit, we can edit.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay. Hey folks, it's John Rich and welcome to The Pursuit. As a country artist, I'm a product of extraordinary musical elements that have come into existence over the many decades of records being made in Nashville. To put it simply, I stand on the shoulders of giants. One of those giants is my guest today, and he has never been duplicated or mirrored in music, as he is a standalone, unique talent and personality. Born in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1936, Charlie Daniels grew up listening and singing gospel music, bluegrass, country, rhythm and blues, and yeah, even a little rock and roll every now and then. He released his first record in 1971 while he was still a studio musician, playing on other people's records like Bob Dylan, Marshall Tucker Band, Hank Jr., all kinds of folks. Little did he know in 1979, the whole world would change with the release of one of the most iconic country songs of all time, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. This song propelled him into superstar status, and country music was never the same, and as the saying goes, the rest is history. He's in the Musicians Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and is a member of the Grand Ole Opry. But if you asked him, what's most important to you? He'd probably tell you God and country. Without men like Charlie Daniels, guys like me would not be who we are today. I'm so honored I get to say I stand on the shoulders of a giant like Mr. Charlie Daniels. Mr. Charlie, welcome to The Pursuit.
Wow, what a I didn't know I'd done all that, man.
You did it.
Thank you, John. I've been wanting to do your show ever since it came on. I was hoping you'd ask one of these days.
Yes, sir. So reading about you, growing up in North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, pretty much at the tail end of the Great Depression, what was it like growing up there?
You know, my earliest memories, oddly enough, I was 5 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed. And I remember a few odds and ends of things that happened before then, but my first real poignant memory is a Sunday. We were at my granddad's house, and the radio was on. He had one of those big floor model radios. He didn't have television, of course, back in those days. And the program was interrupted, and this real scratchy radio thing started happening. It was, I guess, overseas from Honolulu. And they started talking about what had happened, that they had bombed our naval base there. And I'm from a seacoast town. Wilmington, North Carolina it still is to this day, is a port city. In fact, it's called the port city. And we had, during the war, we had a lot of cargo ships that loaded up in Wilmington and went out through the mouth of the Cape Fear River and over across the Atlantic to service our troops in Europe. And a lot of those ships were sunk just off our coast by German submarines.
No way.
And they said that, of course I was too little to know about it, but I've heard grown people say that it was so close sometimes you could see the fires of battle. It was the days before the technology, the satellite technology and stuff, and we never knew but what the Germans might try to bring the war on shore, and we were very vigilant, but we were always aware of our troops, and that's why I come to have such a great appreciation and love for the American military, because we knew they were out there saying, to get through them, you got to come through me, and that ain't gonna happen.
You didn't fight in World War II, you were a little kid, but when you hear about the people back at home, all the way down to the kids, even 5 and 6 year old kids, I've heard stories from my grandmother, Granny Rich, that you'd go to school and you also had an assignment, whether it was to collect scrap metal, whatever it might be, that it was that generation, not only the men fighting, but it was all the way down to the kids. Did you experience that?
Yeah, well, as I got older, it was amazing, John, what they could use. And I don't know exactly how they used it all, but used nylon hose were a big item. They wanted any kind of scrap metal, of course, whatever it was copper or steel or iron or whatever. And even cooking grease. Everybody was involved in that war. Nobody had any idea at all, never crossed anybody's mind we'd ever lose it. everybody was very positive about it. We're going to win this thing.
That's an incredible amount of pressure daily, just to have that on your mind all the way down to, hey, we got through cooking the bacon and sausage, make sure we keep the grease. Like,
right.
down to every detail, it's constantly in your mind. Is that when music started to become an outlet for you, a way to, do something fun? How old were you when you started looking at music?
I don't remember. I remember the first songs, two songs I ever learned was You Are My Sunshine.
Yeah.
And Kneel at the Cross, which is an old hymn. I'd had music in my life. My dad didn't play an instrument, but he dearly loved music. And we were constantly listening to the radio, and I used to sing with my dad. He taught me how to sing harmony. We'd ride along his car, and he'd sing old songs. My first, I actually was about 15 years old before I actually played an instrument. I'd always wanted to. And I was living in a little town in North Carolina, and this friend of mine I had known for several years, I went up to his house one day, and he had this old Stella guitar out. I mean, one of these old beat up, I bet the strings had never been changed on it. I don't know if he even knew where he got it at. It was just his house. The strings were rusty, And he knew G, C, and taking a lot of time, D, which is always the hard one,
pick this finger up and set it down.
And I said, you got to show me that. I've always known how to play all my.
It's like magic. How'd you do that, right?
And he showed me. My fingers, my gosh, they were like, they'd get sore, but you got to keep on playing, And that was my first, where I first started playing guitar, first started playing music. I was about 15 years old, I guess.
And then from then, it seems like you got the bug, you got the passion for it, and stepped into, start with that guitar. When does a fiddle show up in your life?
Well, all I wanted to do was play. Me and this kid, he was a kid at the time, Russell Palmer, myself, that's all we did. Everybody else would go to movies and stuff, and we'd be sitting there playing. And I got a hold of a mandolin. I started fooling with the mandolin, learned a little bit on it, and then one day somebody showed up with a fiddle. The fret positions are the same on a mandolin as on a fiddle.
Right.
So I said, let me see that thing, So squeak, squawk. One of the kids I went to school with, John, said, when I played the fiddle, it sounded like somebody stepped on a cat. And that was about the first few months of the year that I played, but I've always been stubborn. I really wanted to learn it. And I fell head over heels in love with bluegrass music. Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs and Reno and Smiley and the Lonesome Pine Fiddlers and all of these bluegrass
Ralph
groups.
Stanton and the Clinch Mountain Boys.
Oh, yeah. I was a bluegrass purist.
Yes.
I didn't want to hear no steel guitars.
No amplifiers allowed.
I wanted banjos and fiddles and mandolins,
It seemed like a fairly rapid pace of your instrumentalist life, getting into fiddle, mandolin, guitar, digging into that. When did the songwriting part start? When did you start thinking, hang on a minute, when did that switch flip in your head that you said, this could be something I could do?
Ever since I learned 3 chords on the guitar, John, all I ever wanted to be was a professional musician. Just that, in any form I could do it, whether it's playing clubs or playing this or playing that or whatever. I just wanted to be a professional. I wanted to make my living as a professional musician. That was my heart's desire.
Made you the happiest.
Yes. My family, in the meantime, moved back to Wilmington, North Carolina. My dad's job took him back there. And there was a little lady there, they called her Little Jill. She was about this tall, just a ball of fire, and she got a job up in Jacksonville, North Carolina, up where the 2nd Marine Division is, playing in a club up there, and she's putting a band together. And she said, would you like to go? Yeah, hell yeah, I'll go with you,
Right.
We were working a daytime job. I'd drive, back and forth. We'd drive 50 miles up, 50 miles back. We got off about, I think, 11:30 at night or something like that. And I didn't get any rest. I had no social life at all, but I was playing music. But I still had the daytime job. A little story goes along with that. In 1958, I was working at the Taylor Colquitt creosoting company. I was working there with there was a guy there by the name of Lewis Frost that I worked with that actually trained me. He had trained my dad, actually, in learning how to do what we were doing. And he had trained me, and in December 1958, things started slowing down. And they were going to let him lay him off and keep me. He knew 10 times more about the job than I did. But the only problem was, this is 1958, he was black and I was white, and that's what made the decision. They were going to let him go, who knew 10 times more about the job than I did, and keep me, who was basically just a novice. And I said, no, I've got a job. I go to Jacksonville every night and play music. Y'all keep him and I'll leave. And I did. He stayed in that job, and he retired from that job.
I mean, that would have changed his whole life to lose that job.
Well, he changed my whole life. He had taught me something that, you know, but the thing about it was like comparing apples to oranges as far as who did the job better.
Right. It's interesting how, you know, in our country that, you know, you've got a talent, you've got a desire and a passion to do something. You wanted to go do what you wanted to do, and maybe this is something, maybe it's not, but you never didn't show up. You always showed up. You know, people to really grab the American dream, that's what it takes. It's a consistent, constant mindfulness about what it is you're trying to do, and it may take you a long time, but it can be done.
You know, I always say that opportunity knocks one time, that's it. And then if you don't answer the door pretty quick, it moves right on along, and you never know when that knock's gonna come. And I know you've had this happen. You've to be in the business like you are and to have had the success you've had, for sure. You've heard that happen. You almost ignored it a time or two, didn't you? Yeah, you almost
Yeah, because
said,
sometimes it seems like that can't even be real, or why, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
Or that person's not credible, or that deal's not credible, or
I just always know that the boss knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it could be something that I never would have thought of, or some angle that seems totally foreign to me, but it did come across my radar, so I'm gonna at least follow up.
Yeah.
We probably have the same philosophy.
If you do something you don't like, stop doing it while you're young enough to do it, and go find something you like to do it, or you're always gonna sit on the front porch in a rocking chair after you get old and gray and wonder why you didn't join the circus when it came through town. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's just like you can't, you never know when something's gonna happen. You know, it's like fishing.
Right.
You never know what's on the end of your hook.
I also happen to believe that God doesn't open doors for people that don't have enough nerve to run through the door.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You got to show that you really want it, and then it may be that one tap. All right, we'll see if Charlie's really got what he says he's got, you know, and you did it.
Well, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think he opens the doors, and, you know, God gave us the free will choice. And he's not going to push you through the door.
Right.
But he'll open it for you. And if you start out, he'll help you get through it.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you, definitely.
Yeah. And he might reward you with more open doors down the road, which is exactly what happened with you. So you're out now, you're in front of people. People are really hearing you at this point. And I guess that's where it got into the instrumentalist side of who you are, you know, and the songwriter side. I mean, you got a cut on Elvis, right? 1964, Elvis Presley cuts one of your songs, and you're now in the studio playing on some of the most talented people's records out there that aren't even your records.
I was not supposed to play on the Bob Dylan album. A lot of people think Nashville Skyline was the first album he ever did here, but it was not. It was the third one. And when they got ready to do Nashville Skyline, they booked 15 sessions and had contacted the same musicians, and one guitar player could not make, he was booked on the first session, he could not make it, and Bob Johnson said, "You want to play on a Dylan session?" I thought you'd never ask. I'd love to play on a Dylan.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
And right. I went in and hung on every phrase, every note, everything come out of his mouth, you know, and I was playing guitar. And at the end of the session, I was packing my gear up to leave, and the other guy was coming in. And Bob Dylan asked Bob Johnston, "And where's he going?" He said, "He's leaving. I got a guitar player coming in." He said 9 words that would change my life. He said, "I don't want another guitar player, I want him." And Bob said, "Hey."
Wow.
And I stayed around and did Nashville Skyline and went on to do Self-Portrait and New Morning. And you know, John, there are certain artists that people like to read about, you know, that do elaborate things on the back of their album. They had liner notes and that sort of thing. And he was always nice enough to list the name of the musicians on the back of his albums. And he was the kind of artist that people would turn the album over and read it. And that was such a years worth of recognition that came by being on 3 Bob Dylan albums. It just did me a world. It gave me a legitimacy in, not just in so much in Nashville, but, you know.
Yeah, because Bob Dylan can get anybody he wants to play on his records.
Absolutely.
But he had you playing on them.
Yeah.
And so going through that phase, it's probably all these things you've been telling me about, no doubt were sharpening you up to get ready for what Charlie Daniels Band was going to be. I would say, I mean, when you guys came on the scene and, you know, Devil Went Down to Georgia, 1979, I mean, when did you, in your mind, you went, this is incredible playing on Bob Dylan records and all these other people's records, but I'm ready to do my thing and put my thing out there in front of America to see. Was Devil Went Down to Georgia in that process when that first began and you said, let's make a splash and hit them as hard as we can? Because that song was like a bomb going off. Still
It had to build up to that, actually. I got started doing a little producing during that time that we're talking about. I did produce a group called the Young Bloods, probably was the most notable thing I ever did. But I produced another guy named Jerry Corbett, and it was on Capitol Records, and we were doing it in California. We went into LA to play some of the cuts for the Capitol Record people. And I was sitting there, and Jerry's manager, Don Rubin, there was a guitar there for some reason. He said, Charlie, play him some of your songs.
Did you have the beard at this time? Like,
No.
when did the beard come in?
The beard came in, and what year did Ringo Starr do Buku's the Blues? He came to town, I played on Buku's the Blues with Ringo Starr. There's a picture of the band on the back of the album, and this beard had just started bristling. But anyway, I sat down and sang some songs, and a guy by the name of Carl Engelman that worked for Capitol Records signed me on the spot.
I mean, it don't work like that anymore.
It was the best kept secret in the music business. It didn't do anything.
So I've got a song that I would say would be my Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's called Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Oh, no, I didn't save a horse.
Ride a cowboy. What? And so for me, you know, me and Big Kenny and Cowboy Troy and all my buddies is similar to you and all your buddies, that you come out with a crazy song like that, like we did, and everybody goes, what is this happening? That ain't country. I don't know what that is. The fans ultimately decide, but tell me about when the first reactions you got when people heard Devil Went Down to Georgia, and that bass line that is still, it's got to be maybe the greatest bass line that ever got written.
We had changed producers. We had worked up several albums with Paul, and we decided it was time to change producers. We brought John Boylan in. We had written. I'm kind of weird. I write whole songs, do arrangements, guitar breaks, fiddle breaks, and everything, and don't even put a lyric to it. Maybe not even have a title to it. And I write the lyrics afterwards, you know. And we had done a bunch of that, and we got. And John came out, and I said, how you like our material? He said, I don't know, I heard any lyrics. I said, well, I'll get them done eventually.
Right.
But we had finally gone in and started recording, and we didn't have a fiddle song. And to write, for the express purpose of writing a fiddle song. I had one line in my mind, I don't know where it came from, Devil Went Down to Georgia.
The devil went down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind 'cause he was way behind, and he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, boy, let me tell you what.
So we went in and set the band up and said, okay, let's try this. And everybody drummers started doing something, and the devil went down to Georgia, and I didn't know. And then we went on, and then Taz came up with a da-da-da-da-da-da. And we one or 2 days we wrote this song. Yeah.
I mean,
I used 7 fiddles on that part.
Because you was wearing them out?
Well, no, because it was the sound we were trying to get. They probably do it electronically now, but we did it
so you were stacking them?
Yeah, we did it organically back in that day. I used, I think, 6 fiddles and I used an 8-string fiddle on it.
Wow.
I mean, I used everything I could get to make that noise. But
I mean,
John had brought a engineer in from California. He was that 21-year-old genius by the name of Paul Grupp. And he was the guy that put that sound together. I just kept playing, he put the sound together.
That's what bands like Queen were doing, stuff like that, stacking everything like that.
If you win, you get the shiny fiddle made of gold. If you lose, the devil gets your soul.
You know, Cowboy Troy says that Charlie Daniels was the first country rapper. And you think, and I, when he said that to me, I went, you know what, you're kind of right, because if you took away, I don't know, fiddle or the instrumentation, but you just said the devil went down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal, he was in a bind because he was way behind and he was willing to make a deal. That is the cadence of what a lot of urban rap and rappers use, that cadence, and you were doing that. I mean, but prior to that, they'd call it, I guess, spoken word, you know, Jimmy Dean or Johnny Cash or whoever. But the way you went at it was a whole nother level of intensity.
Well, first, that song, Uneasy Rider, was a spoken word song. I was taking a trip out to L.A., tuning along my Chevrolet, you know, and it was a style of music that was called talking blues.
Talking blues.
And of course, the devil went down to Georgia. I mean, it happened so quick, you know, and I just went off, wrote the lyrics, we met in the studio and cut it. So it all happened in a short amount of time, and we had no idea. You were asking me about reaction the first time that people heard it. It was just...
Eyeballs just bugging out of their head.
It was immediate. I mean, it was, you know, when we started doing it on stage, and of course, I told people, I did a SOB version, a SOG version, Son of a Gun, and knew what the other one is. And I tell people I did a Baptist version and a Methodist version. I won't tell them which is which.
Yeah, right. But that's an incredible thing to think that something hit you like that out of the blue, and it was just one of those meant to be things. And and it went on, and I believe it won a Grammy, did it not?
We did win a Grammy. We won a Grammy, and several other things that year.
Yeah.
CMA and ACM and oh gosh, I don't know what all. But yeah, that was a huge song for us.
I mean, what happened after that? You know, I heard a story about you out here on this property building the fence, and right around that area, and that arm right there got wrapped up in the PTO.
Yeah, it did.
Was that before the Grammys
This
hit?
is 1980. I went to Grammys with my arm in a sling,
Okay.
and we had Buddy Spiker and gosh, who else was it? We had two Nashville fiddle players that wouldn't play the fiddle because I couldn't play when we did the song on the Grammys. It was right down yonder. I was digging post holes, or I say digging post holes. I was standing there. We had a crew of guys that were putting fence in, and my manager David was sitting on the tractor, running the tractor, and I cut this finger. I'm not good around machinery. I cut this off on a ripsaw in high school.
I've never noticed your finger.
Yeah, well,
missing
it's
the
not
end of
very
it.
noticeable. And then my work glove sticks out, you know, like this, and I had my hand around the thing, and it grabbed my work glove, and it started taking my arm like
and just
that.
wrapping you into the PTO.
And David cut the tractor off.
Good thing he was watching.
Well, it's a good thing he was watching, a good thing God was watching, because you know a diesel engine will kick sometime when it stops, but it didn't. It stopped. He took the gas off and stopped, and it stopped, and it was all the way up to here.
Oh my goodness.
I was down on my knees, and I said, "Lord, help me!" And it stopped. The tractor stopped. They unwound my arm from out of the thing and took me to hospital. And they took me to Lebanon at first, and they gave me a pain shot, put me in an ambulance, and took me to Nashville. And the doctor walked in, and I said, "All I'm asking you to do is give me one whole a fiddle bow and a guitar pick again." He wasn't making no promises. So anyway, he took me in and worked on my arm, put rods in and all this stuff. And when he got through, he said, "You're gonna be all right." And then I went into the most frustrating 5 months or so of my life where I couldn't play.
You got the biggest song ever that's hit, and it's a fiddle song, and your arms tore
Yeah,
up.
we were very much in demand, and I couldn't. I had to play. Like I said, I played the Grammy with my arm in a sling.
With
Or
somebody
sang
else
the
playing the
Grammy.
part.
Yeah, I sang the part. I couldn't play.
It's interesting how sometimes when on the pursuit of happiness for people, you got these big giant moments, and at the very exact same time, something comes in that the general public don't even really aware of. That's not positive. That's a real struggle or an obstacle. I know throughout your career, you know, you've battled cancer.
Yeah.
You know, you battled your arm getting tore up.
Yeah.
What is it about the way you go at life that allows you the strength to pull through those kind of moments? Because I think everybody out there that ever goes for anything big is going to experience similar things.
If I didn't have the Lord in my life, I couldn't. I don't know where it'd be. I really don't know where it'd be. And there's been times in my life when I did not have the Lord in my life. And things, you know, bad things would happen, and I wouldn't know, you know, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. But I learned what my motto nowadays is: we try to walk by faith and not by sight. Because right now, with all the stuff that's going on around us, especially in our business, you know, we're probably going to be the last business to open because we got to put people together.
Right.
You got to stop and think. If you look around you, everything just looks bad, 360 degrees. But if you look at it and say, my God's bigger than this. My God controls this thing. And what we need to do, and one of the things about it is, it's the first time in my life I've ever seen anything happen that happened all over the world. I mean, the rich people couldn't get out of here and go to the Riviera and get away from it.
That's right.
There's no place to go. So what does that tell you? Who are you going to depend on?
Right.
You
The
can't
old
depend
song,
on the
he's
doctors.
got the whole world
He's got the whole
in
world
his
in his
hands.
hands. Exactly.
Well, he definitely does.
That's only God.
Right.
Only God. And the only way, my contention is this: you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Yep.
You can plant a seed, but you can't make it grow. You can bring a baby into the world, but you can't make him breathe. So who does? God.
Of course.
And it's the same thing with everything we deal with. It's like you said, just got through saying, he's got the whole world in his hands. And this is the world's wake-up call right here. Who do we depend on? Dr. Fauci? I don't think so. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Dr. Fauci. I don't even know the man. Are we dependent on science?
Right.
You know,
I mean, to think
doctors-
man can fix man's problems is not the answer.
Doctors treat, but only God can heal.
Wow.
So when we get an answer to this, it's going to be that God imparts his knowledge to somebody. And that's what I've been praying for. God imparts your knowledge to somebody to do this. So we walk by faith. Yeah, we're going to have a cure. Yeah, we're going to come out of this. Yeah, we're going to go back into places and play music for people again. I can't make it happen, but he can.
Right.
So we got to leave it. I mean, I do everything I can. We got to leave it up to him. There's no other way to go. Otherwise, you run yourself crazy.
You know, the verse that's very short but very powerful in the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God."
Absolutely.
That's the hardest thing
for us. I will be exalted on the earth. I will be exalted in heaven. Yeah.
Hardest thing for guys like us to do is ever be still, ever. I mean, you're still pulling 100+ concerts a year, or, you know, running up and down the road, and you love doing that. But what this has done, it has forced us to be still and be quiet. And I think maybe that was part of the point. I know how much you love our military, all the way back to the Wilmington days, you know, thinking that the Germans were sending in torpedoes off the banks of the Carolinas, and it goes all the way back there to you. Tell me about the importance of not only our military, but us as citizens having a Second Amendment and keeping that intact as it is under assault on a daily basis.
Let's make two different sections out of that, if I could. Let's talk about military first of all. I came at a long time ago. I realized that the only two things that protect America, and I've said this, I say on stage every night, is the grace of Almighty God and the United States military. Now, our military, when they come out of the military, they turn into veterans. They, unfortunately, to a big degree, are some of the most ignored people and underappreciated people in our society compared to how they should be. Mm-hmm. I feel so indebted to our veterans. We started an organization a while back called the Journey Home Project. And my involvement all of our involvement, my manager and the ex-adjutant general of the state of Tennessee, that's our board. And we try to help make vets' lives better. John, it's amazing. These people are too proud to ask for help, and to a big degree. If a vet ever asks you for help, they really need it. That's our way of saying thank you. And Journey Home Project, compared to a lot of the other bigger, we're small outfit, and we don't raise as much money and put out as much money as they do, but we try to make every cent count. So the Second Amendment guarantees that we have the right to keep and bear arms. It's very plain. It could not be any plainer. People say, okay, that's for sports and target shooting. We just come out of a war with a tyrant.
Right.
It also says, and if they forget the part about, has the right to have a well-ordered militia. Now, militiamen don't shoot targets and squirrels. They protect their home. Militiamen.
Yeah, it didn't say well-organized hunting group.
Well, no, that's right. So we have a right to protect. We have a right to shoot. I mean, honestly, most of the guns are used for sports and target shooting. But there's also, you know, these days, and all days actually, you have a right to protect your house and your family.
That's right.
And that's what the Second Amendment is about.
How you see fit under the law.
How you see fit, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Not everybody can own a machine gun.
No.
You don't, that ain't what it's talking about. But yeah, as a guy who's got kids, wife, the wife has a husband, kid, whatever, under the law, if you're not a criminal, you're allowed to protect yourself and your family and your property under the law, under the Constitution, through the Second Amendment. And you see a lot of the places around America right now who have taken that away from their citizenry. Don't let them own a firearm, even though they're a business owner, they're not a criminal. And you see what's going on because the threat of a response to what people are doing right now in a lot of our towns is not there. There's no way to respond to the viciousness that they're being hit with.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's a right. It's a right just like walking down the street's a right. You can't separate the Second Amendment and say, well, it means this, these rights here are right, and this. No, it's written, it's there. It's written in the law as much as our freedom of speech is written. You know, I used to think our biggest enemy was Russia and China, and you know something? They can't beat us. Not if we're united. A house divided can't stand, but this country comes together like I saw it, John, back in the Second World War, when kids and grown-ups, and you put your hand over your heart and you said that, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and I'm proud of it.
Yes, sir.
And you know, it's part of me, and I support the military, and and where everybody's into it, they can't beat this country. We got the best military, we got the best technology, we got the most motivated, we got the best of everything. If we just come together and use it. It's not our biggest enemies aren't China and Russia. Our biggest enemy is the people who want to take our rights away from us in this country, our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, and that's only the beginning. And something else that I'm sure me and you both feel the same way about is protest, peaceful protest is good.
Correct.
I mean, you know, I've participated in myself. They are good. That is an expression of our freedom, and it's another freedom. It's again freedom of gathering together and protesting something. But when you affiliate yourself with people who burn things down and destroy places and occupy places that don't belong to them,
And hurt people
and kill people, and there's no telling what all's going on behind the scenes, that sours the whole thing out.
It does. It lumps them in together when they shouldn't be lumped together.
You need to renounce these people. Just say they're not part of us. That idiot down there with a brick in his hand, I'd go arrest him. That's not part of us.
I totally agree.
And doing away with police departments. You know what they need? I got an idea. You want to do away with police departments? Give your police 2 weeks paid leave. Just say, okay, all right, y'all, we'll take it over from here.
A little test run?
Yeah, a little test run. Give your police departments, let them be off for 2 weeks. Let's go on vacation. Go to Miami and enjoy it. You know, don't go to Miami. Go to Knoxville, see the mountains.
Go to Dollywood.
There you go. But, you know, and give them and see what happens and see if you want the police gone or not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they
would not like the results.
That's past the point of silly. That's stupid.
Yep. So I got one final question
Sure.
for you. I ask every guest on The Pursuit this question as the final question, and that would be this. How has the right to pursue happiness changed your life?
It is my life. I live my life. There's so many things I enjoy. You know, I enjoy eating, you can probably tell that, you know. I enjoy a good glass of wine. I enjoy hunting. I don't get the chance to do it anymore, but I love my guns. I love fishing. I love being able to, if I decide today to say, hey, so let's go down to Lake Weiss and catch some crappie. You get in the car and go. Or let's fly to Australia. Get your passport. You know, let's go somewhere, let's do something. Nobody stopped me. A lot of places you couldn't do that. You couldn't go out of the town you're in. You couldn't go out of the state you're in.
Right.
Pursuit of happiness, freedom and pursuit of happiness go hand in hand together. Freedom to worship any way you want to. Freedom to go anywhere you want to do anything you want to say anything you want to, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. People don't have to listen to you, but you got a right to say it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pursuit of happiness. Being the person to reach your potential and be the person that God designed you that you could reach your potential to be. That, to me, is the pursuit of happiness. God, family, country, work. That's my 4 principles.
Mr. Charlie Daniels, thank you for being on The Pursuit. God bless you.
Thank you, John. God bless you, too. We run you out of tape?
Good. Good.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I mean, hearing the story of Charlie Daniels from Charlie Daniels, isn't it inspiring? You know, we miss him here on earth, but you know, up there in heaven, he finally got his hands on that golden fiddle. You know he's up there backing up Hank Sr. and Merle Haggard and having the time of his eternity right now. That's what he's doing. He's such a great example for the rest of us to do the things that make you happy. Work towards the things that you love. Don't waste your time on things or people that bring you down. Stick to the positive. You know, he supported our veterans, our active duty, our police, our first responders, the men and women who secure the right to pursue happiness in this country. Charlie Daniels, quite an example of what it means to be a great human being. You guys have a great night tonight. God bless Charlie Daniels.